Hi, and welcome to today's session of Josefine Meets. And today I'm here with Brian Gallagher. And I'm super excited because both Brian and I, we are passionate corporate escapees, but we live a little bit different lives. So we are going to cover that a little bit, both what kind of made us leave corporate, why we love it outside of corporate, that it might not be for everyone, but what we do that we love, and how you, if you're interested in learning more about that, how you can start implementing these things into your life too. So hi Brian, so happy to have you here.
Hi, Josephine. Honored to be here. Thank you so much.
And thank you too. And could you please give us a little bit of a background of who you are and what you do now?
Yeah, my name is Brian Gallagher. I call myself the corporate escape artist on LinkedIn. I basically help people leave the corporate world like I did around 9 or 10 years ago. I just found myself unhappy with what I was spending the majority of my hours in my prime years of my life doing, and didn't want to do it for another 25 or 30 years. And there was more of the world I wanted to see. So I figured out a way to get out from the desk and go around and see the things I wanted to see and build a business that allowed me, or that supported that lifestyle that I really wanted for myself. And that's now what I help people also do. If they're in work that is not fulfilling for them and they have this itch to do something else, I like to help them find out what it is they want to do and then build them a step-by-step plan to get there.
Yeah, and I think that the point about lifestyle business, I think that is really key in both what you and I are doing to create a business that actually works for the people and not the other way around.
Yeah.
But your lifestyle looks totally different to me. I think you and I connected some months ago, and not long after that, you said, "You know what, Josephine, I'm off to Morocco," and you went to Morocco for a month, I think, right? So
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
there. Tell us a little bit about your lifestyle, how you can work and live.
Yeah. So I was in New York City for 14 years, did a couple different things there, from finance to running a fitness studio. And I just realized there was so much more of the world I wanted to see. And it was time for me to move on from New York. And I really set out on this kind of travel nomadic lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. I didn't call myself a digital nomad because I didn't know that was a term then. I was just like, I want to take my backpack, I want to ditch all my stuff, and I want to go see some other things. So I did that. And while I was doing that, my only goal was to create fitness content and go find these really unique places to work out and just share the footage with people that were in my audience on Instagram. Once I
Mhm.
started to do that, I got many more questions about people asking me how I was doing it, and more about what I was doing for work and how I ended up being able to live my life this way. And so I started helping people do that. But I like to kind of travel and see different parts of the world. And I love the idea of just being able to do that whenever I want to do it. There is
Mm.
nothing kind of keeping me in one place, or I wouldn't say that. So I have an apartment. I have a girlfriend. I live in Amsterdam. So like, yeah, I can't go piss off for a year, but I can just pick up and go somewhere for a month, like Morocco, like I did in January, just to kind of go explore something different and see a different part of the world. While I'm on this side of the Atlantic, I'm from the United States. So while I'm over here, there's many more things to see that I haven't been as close to. And I just really like that idea of being able to go take my work with me, still service my clients, still be able to market and all that kind of stuff that I can do from home. I can do anywhere. And I just didn't have that in the last two kind of careers that I had. So
Mm.
investment banking was really time intensive, strict bosses and really tight deadlines. So I got out of that, but I moved into a fitness studio, which was not as much time, no bosses, way less pay, but still found myself chained to one particular geography. I basically owned a store. I couldn't leave
Mhm.
for a month and be say to my partner like, "Hey, you gonna be around for the next month to teach 30 classes every week?" And he's like, "No, no, I'm not gonna do that." So there was like two different things there. A job that I took and kept me to one place, and then a job that I created for myself that also kept me in one place. So
Yeah.
after those two things, I finally realized I was like, it's not working for myself that I want. It's the freedom that I want and the flexibility that I want to be able to do what I want when I want for as long as I want. And that's kind of what I was able to build myself up to with all the stuff I'd done before, and then kind of listening to what people wanted or were asking me as I was traveling and working out, really doing nothing. I was basically
Yeah.
retired.
Exactly. But I think that it's so important, because that is also one of the things that I left corporate a little bit after you, but it
Hmm.
was before COVID. And I wrote down, I remember, what do I want? Well, I want to
Hmm.
be able to work from anywhere in the whole world, so that I wanted to be able to travel to my family if and when I wanted to. I'm a
Hmm.
little bit stuck because we have kids who are in school, so we
Yep.
can't always travel either. But as you said, when it's school holidays or when whatever it is, first of all, I don't need to argue with my husband, who is going to stay at home during the 15 weeks of or whatever of school holidays that they have. It's also the freedom to actually, we grab our laptops and we travel wherever, and we sit wherever, and we can work from whenever.
Hmm.
And I think that is the, as you say, that is the freedom. That is
Yeah.
exactly what it's needed. But I want to, before, because I know with your fitness studio that you created, that there was also a little bit of a failure, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think that is a lot of people, but what if I do this step now? What if I leave corporate and I start my business, and what if it doesn't work out? How would you talk to those people?
So, two things that really kind of pop into my head: the preparedness I took before financially. So, living a simple lifestyle and just saving money and not really spending on things and feeling that I need to spend everything I made. I lived a very simple lifestyle. And I often say this to people: I was like, I had a roommate into my late 30s, and it saved me so much money. It basically saved me almost 2 years of not working for somebody else. If I think about that, and the the sacrifices it took to live with a roommate were not that bad. They were all friends or family members. One of them was my brother. But having a two-bedroom apartment where I could choose who I wanted to live with, I mean, basically allowed me 2 years to kind of figure out what else I wanted to do. So that's one: financial preparedness and doing whatever it takes, like in terms of sacrifices, to make that happen. And
Mhm.
then the other would be, you won't really figure out where else you can go until you start taking steps. Now, I probably had two or three steps in between from the end of my corporate job to where I am now, which is kind of coaching people and doing what I did. And I had two or three things within there, a few of which didn't work out. But they led me to like something else, to like try to figure out what else could work. And then the final one was just me listening to what people were asking. But
Mhm.
I would have never arrived at coaching had I not opened the fitness studio, because that kind of gave me a whole new spectrum of people to meet. I had 8 or 9,000 member audience on Instagram, mainly from fitness content, which I would have never gotten had I not started the fitness studio. So it's those things you almost can't tinker with some of it.
Yeah.
You have to just take the steps as they come. And so continuing along, identifying a path and then taking steps along it often or always opens up things that you would have never anticipated had you
Yeah.
just sat behind your desk and tried to plan for it. So you actually have to get out and do the things, and you see more opportunities open up for you as you go. And that's exactly what happened. And so that's kind of what I would say. And as like a 2B to that is like, you could always go back and get a corporate job. If all this shit fails, go get another job. You can find something. If you've worked in corporate long enough, you have not too long, because I feel like at my age now, it might be hard for me to go back. But if you worked in corporate at least 5 years, you have a skill. You have something that an industry that you've worked in, where you could, I'm thinking, pretty easily go back and get another job. So my whole kind of mindset now for people is like, don't you want to go try? And if it
Mm.
fails, just go back. That's all. Just go back. What's the harm? Prepare yourself financially, take a leap, try it. And if it doesn't work, go back. And then at
Mhm.
least you know. It's like I didn't want to get 20 years down the road and think like, man, I really should have jumped on that fitness studio opportunity, like who would have known what happened? And I'd
Yeah.
probably still be sitting in my banking job, and not having done all the things I've been able to do in the last 9 years.
Oh, I have had a heart attack already. Anyways, but so, but did you have a plan when did you kind of have a goal that you said in 2 years' time, I'm doing this now, I'm living with my brother and having a roommate so that in 2 years' time, I can say thank you and goodbye. Was that kind of a goal that you had defined?
Not initially. I did not have that as a goal. So I moved to New York. My brother was already there. I just started to live with him. And then I was like, wow, this is pretty nice. I'm saving on a lot of rent. And there came a point where, I mean, I was like 31, 32, and I'm like, just listening to other people saying, well, don't you want your own place? And I'm like, yeah, maybe I do want my own place. And I started to look at it. And I'm like, no, I don't really want my own place. I don't really care,
Yeah,
because what it was going to do to me financially was like put me back in debt, jack up my monthly expenses, where I was basically spending everything I was making. And I was like, and with no savings now, I was like, I don't want to, I'm trapped. I feel trapped. So after kind of avoiding purchasing a home in New York City, I then was like, okay, now I'm just going to stockpile money, and that's going to allow me to do whatever I want. So initially, no, that was not the plan. I just kind of fell into it by kind of almost listening to what other people were saying and then really thinking about it for myself and being like, no, that's not what I want. I don't like debt. I don't want to be in more debt. So I
yeah.
avoided it, and it allowed me to do this stuff, which, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do any of these things had I bought an apartment when I did, or when I
Yeah.
looked.
Yeah. So both you and I are kind of building our businesses. We are on social media to
Hmm.
spread our message, to share our audience. And you and I discussed that a little bit because I think that is a really essential piece to kind of like help people to get out there to share their message. But
Hmm.
there are many people also say, oh no, I can't do that. And I was also really afraid. I don't know if you had that same, but I was really afraid when I was back in corporate to even like or comment. And I would never have thought about posting on social media because what if someone would have seen it? And so that for me was a huge, kind of like a really huge step outside of my comfort
Hmm.
zone. How has that experience been for you?
I avoided social media for the longest time. I was always late to every platform. Like, I joined Facebook in like 2011, which was like, it was already out for 9 years at this point. I joined Instagram in 2017, maybe. Like, I was late. I mean, we had a one for my business in 2013. I avoided getting on it for the longest time, and then I finally did. So I didn't have a job when I was really serious about starting to get into Instagram. Like, I didn't really get into Instagram until it was like probably 2018, 2019, when I started to kind of build this Simple Man Guide brand. That's when I got into it. So it's hard for me to answer, but yeah, there was some fear there, of course. I mean, you're sharing things, you're putting yourself out there, you're opening yourself up to criticism from
Hmm.
any and everybody, and that's a scary thought. I mean, a couple things that kind of allow me to do that now more freely and care less was the fact that the more I did it, the less I really cared.
Yeah.
So like the first couple of times, you really agonize over what you're going to post, and then after a while, it's like I write it up on the weekend. I look at it the day I'm going to post it. I put it in LinkedIn. It's done. It takes me 5 minutes to review it again, and just to make sure there's no typos because I'm an anal weirdo. And then I put it out there. But before it was like, yeah, it really took a lot of courage, hesitation, review, thought, like angst. There was a lot of that. The other thing is that I always keep this saying in mind, and it's like, you will never be criticized by someone doing
Mm.
more than you. And that has helped me tremendously. It's like, yeah, the people that are going to criticize you and kind of, they want to be the haters and the trolls and all those stuff. It's all people that aren't doing their own thing. It's like, if they were, they wouldn't really care what you were doing, nor have the time. Like, I don't have the time to go look at somebody's Instagram and criticize them. Like, I don't give a shit. Do what you want to do. And B, that's not how I want to spend my time. So
Yeah.
I look at it that way. I'm like, listen to who is criticizing you, and then you can decide if you care. And
Yeah.
frankly, I don't care. So that has helped me a lot in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I remember my very first post because I didn't dare to post anything on LinkedIn. So I moved over to Instagram and I had two posts from 2013. One was of my kids and one when I crashed the car. And this was 2019, something like that. It was super private, like no one. So I did a quote and I posted it on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. And I was so nervous about all these haters that would come and criticize me for this quote. And nothing happened except,
No one.
those really close friends who were super supportive were like, oh, yeah, you go, Josephine. And I mean, yeah, I've had a couple of trolls or bad experiences. But as
Yeah.
you said, let's not focus on them, not give them any energy because it's not
Yeah.
worth it, right? Just continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is that too is like when you first start, you have no audience. You're posting to
Yeah.
crickets when all your content is shit anyway. It's like, okay, you can read all my crap. No one's reading it. It's like I put stuff on. I was trying to do. I don't know. I don't know if you're on Twitter or not.
No,
Are
I'm
you
not.
on Twitter?
No.
So I
Yeah.
tried to do LinkedIn and Twitter at the same time, and I was posting stuff on Twitter and I had like no following there. And I was basically just posting to myself because I wasn't putting in the effort to like engage and
Yeah.
network and that kind of stuff. And I focused really on LinkedIn. So like I post shit on Twitter and like nobody sees it. I'm like, cool, okay, I don't care. It's like it's probably not that good anyway. So it's kind of like practice. You can practice when
Yeah.
no one's looking. It's like rehearsal, dress rehearsal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it's also a little bit, demotivating, especially when you think, oh, this is going to be so well, it's going to blow up, and then nothing happens. But I think the key is exactly like you said, because in the beginning, I tried Pinterest. Actually, I tried Pinterest. I even had a VA helping me with Pinterest because I
Okay.
I don't use Pinterest myself,
Yeah.
so I wasn't invested at all in that. And then nothing happens, right? So
Mm,
you have to be invested yourself. You have to engage and comment
hmm.
and like and connect with people. So I
Yeah.
think that
That's
is that
key.
is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's key.
So is there anything, if you would start your journey today again, is there anything that you would do differently?
It's a great question. Speaking of engaging and connecting, I would have done that a lot more. So I was pretty naive on Instagram. It worked still. I still build a pretty good audience for me. I have over 10,000 Instagram followers, which is not. I mean, there's people with way more, but I was happy with that. But that was all through like not really doing any outward engagement. Now, if I could go back and do that again, I might have kind of used the strategy I used on LinkedIn now and like get out there every day and meet people, connect with people and engage and be a part of the community as opposed to just putting content and saying, "Hey, come look at my stuff." It's like, no, you got to
Yeah.
share. You got to look at everyone else's stuff too. And I didn't do that. So that would be one thing. And even on LinkedIn, I was very active right from the start. It's like get out there, meet people, and I can see the difference in like audience growth. Like I've become pretty stale on Instagram, but my LinkedIn is growing pretty again, these are all for me. Like, yeah, I'm not somebody who's going to grow 50,000 followers in a year, but I've been on for 6 months and I've gotten up to I'm almost at 5,000. So I'm happy with that. I mean, that's 5,000 people that I didn't reach a year ago. And that's by connecting and getting out
Yeah.
there and looking at people's content and adding your 2 cents and trying to build connections with people. And that's really kind of like the key, I would say. And that's what I would focus all my time on if I started over again was just building an audience, like talking about what you like and having a rough idea of what you'd want to offer. But really, the audience building is like pretty key.
Hmm. Yeah, and not to be kind of like not to think that it's going to happen now or like this next second. I
Yeah.
actually did an analysis. What is the timeline from the day I talk to my clients the first time until the day they actually become my client, which was
Yeah.
super interesting. I hadn't done that before,
Mm.
and it turns out it's 11 weeks, right, on average. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
like
Wow. Yeah.
so
Takes
it's like
time.
it takes time, yeah. But I had one that became a client on day one, and one that it took 48 months, right? So it's not like it's not
Yeah.
you need to be in it for the long game. It's not as if you can show up on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok and then you have like a
Exactly.
$1 million business the next day. It
Yeah.
Everything takes time.
Or like one piece of content's going to get me 5 new clients. Like I've never found, maybe, I mean, maybe there are people who can do that. I have not figured it out yet. So
Yeah,
I'm
but
happy.
not if you just started. That is maybe when you have a bigger
Yeah.
audience and they
Yeah.
are super warm, then yeah,
Yeah.
one piece of content, but then it's not the first content they
Not your
have ever
first
seen.
piece. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. It's like just getting out there and like kind of feeding your crops. You just got to
Yeah.
keep seeds down, and some things grow eventually.
Yeah. So I know you have a program, Brian, that you take your people through. What can you take us a little bit through that? Explain how that works a little bit, how you work with them, how kind of what is expected if someone would want to learn more about your program.
Yeah, so I have a coaching program that I run people through. It's hybrid, so there's part one-on-one, there's part group community stuff to it. There's an online course with tools to help you with a number of things. And some of the things that I found important along my journey that I wanted to share was like part of it I think that I don't see in too many other things is like helping you live a simpler lifestyle. I feel like we all have kind of like I call them financial leaks, like we spend money on things that we don't really need to, and kind of helping people go through their financial situation can be eye-opening for them. And it does a number of things for people. It gives them options. It gives them savings where they can think like, okay, if I don't have a paycheck for a month, what's going to happen? And they're like, nothing. I have money in my bank. I'm comfortable. But also like getting them the idea that they can have the lifestyle they want from anywhere in the world. They don't have to be in one place. They don't have to have the high paying, super stressful job, because at the end, they don't need all of that money. They can get by on much less. So helping them with the financial picture is one. Helping them find what else they want to do. So finding a career that is more geared towards them. And the way I like to think of it is like just kind of simple. What as we simplify our lifestyle, it's like simplifying like your personas. Like I wanted to get down to one persona. I had business me and I had casual
Yeah.
me, and now there's just me. It's just like everything is kind of one thing, and helping people find that is a big part of the process too. And I know these are all kind of gigantic changes seemingly at the start, but helping people break it down into step-by-step things and kind of creating an outline for them to look at and say like, okay, now I just have to follow this. It's not like I have to walk up to this thing and like, oh my God, I got these huge changes I have to do next week. It's like, no, this is a process. This takes time. These are the things that helped me. I'm going to share them with you. And if you go through these same steps, you can get where you want to get to. But I think a lot of people, there's fear. They don't know what they don't know, and they don't know the unknown. So helping them make that a little less unknown, and helping them find what they're going to do for work. People are just confused, like what can I actually do? What can I offer? How do I get paid for this thing that I like already, or that I already know how to do? So kind of helping them figure out what it is for them, and not giving them I don't give them canned solutions. I don't say like, "Hey,
Yeah.
come work with me. I'm going to teach you how to be a crypto trader." Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask you the right questions, and I'm going to find out your skills, your interests, your experiences, and we're going to find out what you can do to make money for yourself that supports a lifestyle that you want. And work. Go ahead. Sorry. Did I? Did I?
No, because I think one piece, because I left my corporate job very abruptly. I was like, I have to get out of here, and you're
Okay.
preparing people to transfer. And I think one big piece is what people tend to underestimate is I had been a banker or like in the financial services, a consultant for 2 decades, for almost 20 years.
Mm,
And all of a sudden, as you said, this persona, right? Who am I, right? It's so important to find back to that person again. And I think having
yeah.
then guidance from someone who is there for you, who asks the right questions, who helps you to walk the path faster. Because the first year I was still kind of like in shock. I would say I was
Yeah.
also grieving, and I was trying to find myself. And I think that having someone then to support you to not lead the way, but kind of like steer you in a better
Yes.
direction is,
Here. It's a good way to look at it.
yeah, super super important. Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
interrupted you there, Brian.
No, that's fine. So basically, to do all of that stuff to help them with those things I just talked about, it's like I offer one-on-one, so kind of like a customized portion of the program, which will do 4 one-on-one calls over the course of 4 months. There's an online course. There is a community of people kind of going through the same things, creating what they're going to do for their business, and access to that through weekly group calls and a Slack community. So getting
Mm,
everyone together to kind of support one another and almost be like, I like to think of it as like the backstage area. Like if you are putting something together, or you have a post you want to share, or you're creating your offer, or you're updating your LinkedIn profile, or whatever it is, having other people look at it first, where it's kind of like a risk-free zone. You can put it out
Yeah.
there and people can tell you, well, okay, this is not really hitting the way, this is hitting this way. Is this how you want it? And like allowing people to kind of make adjustments to things before they kind of release them out into the world. So I like to think of it as like a rehearsal kind of backstage area too.
And even, when you have those low moments, like because it's not always, we're not always on top. We have those days when we feel a little
Yeah.
bit lower. It's amazing that you have a group of people who are in the same situation. They know exactly what you're going through or what you might be feeling, because either they have been there before or they will be there in the near future. So I
Yeah.
think that is, just to have the support of someone else who is in the same situation is amazing.
Yeah. I found it to be pretty good. And I think the people enjoy being able to talk to others and share things with others. It's interesting. Like the group calls, and we're almost like a couple of them were almost like group therapy sessions. Like people are like, "Hey, I'm struggling with this," and we all kind of like gather around and like put our arms around each other and say like, "Hey, well, it happened to me, and this is what I did," and it's been pretty nice in a way that I didn't really expect.
Yeah. Yeah, you get pretty close to the people. So,
Yeah.
Brian, how can people, if they want to connect more with you, learn more about you, how can they connect with you in the best way?
The best way, the place I'm most active is on LinkedIn, and my name is Brian Gallagher. You can also find me on Instagram, Simple Man Guide, Guide, and my website is the same, simplemanguide.com.
I will make sure I add the links. And I think you have an amazing freebie that we will make sure that people get their hands on
Thank
too,
you.
with lots of tips and tricks and guidance, which is amazing. So we're definitely going to share that one too.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much for being a guest.
I'm honored. Thanks for having me, Josephine. This has been
Thank you.
wonderful.